Hey guys, this is my second lecture on Laplace transform. Today I'll be discussing how to take the Laplace transform of functions. So we know that Laplace transform is from 0 to infinity f of t e to the power of minus st dt. This is how Laplace transform is defined. So now we will actually substitute f of t as 1 e to the power of at, e to the power of minus at, sine omega t, cos omega t, e to the power of I omega t, e to the power of minus I omega t. So we'll try to find the Laplace transform of these common functions that we actually come across mostly. And this is very important because most of your signals are based off these functions. Like you have this unity function that is actually called the step input. Okay. And one more function is a ramp function, that is t. Okay. So these are the likely Laplace transforms that you have to know, because these are the common functions that you'll see as an input source to a system, and we try to study the effects of this input on that system and how the output behaves. Okay, so this is the main importance of Laplace transform, because it actually tells you the system response to these kind of input sources. Okay, so this is the first thing that I will be deriving. We have to know how to derive these Laplace transform functions and try to understand this, how we get there. Okay, so the first thing that we have to know before I get through this is I need to know that you need to know, okay, that sound wrong. So it's, you have to know improper integral concepts, and you have to know integration by parts. This is crucial. Okay, so I have provided links below for a lecture series. One is from Khan Academy and the other one is from the Organic Chemistry Tutor. So you can actually check out those links. They give you pretty good explanation, and also they have given you a Laplace transform. Even Khan Academy provides you a Laplace transform explanation also. He also gives a good explanation, but I will be deriving it in a different way from what he derived, because he's going to be using integration by parts for certain of the functions like sine omega t and cos omega t, which I won't be doing. So we will go to the easy way so that we avoid using integration by parts to some extent, but we'll have to do integration by parts to use t, right? So I advise you to basically go through the links that I have provided with this lecture video on improper integral and integration by parts. Okay, so let's get to it. First, let's find the Laplace transform of f of t equal to 1, right? So that is nothing but 0 to infinity 1 dot e to the power of minus st dt. So when you take the integral of e to the power of minus st, it actually is equal to 0 to infinity e to the power of minus st divided by the quotient of t, that is minus s. Okay, so this is nothing but 1 by infinity when you apply the upper limit, so that is 0. So it will become minus of minus 1 by s. Minus 1 by s, reason being e to the power of 0 is 1 and there's a negative sign here, so that is nothing but 1 by s. So there is a condition here. So if you remember in my previous lecture, minus s is equal to ln of x, correct? So we know this is what we have assumed, and ln of x is actually less than 0. That means s should be greater than 0. That means real part of s also should be greater than 0. That means if this is real, then s should be greater than 0. You can see it. Okay, and if this is a complex function, the real part of s should be greater than 0. It should not be equal to 0, otherwise it tends to infinity. That means the function diverges. Okay, so this is a Laplace. This is the constraint. Remember this constraint. This constraint is very important because you really don't want this going in any other way. Okay, and it diverges if s is less than 0. So this I will be discussing, this convergence and divergence concept, in my next lecture. So this is the first thing that I have derived. It is a function f of t is equal to 1. So this is how you derive the Laplace transform. So using the same ideology, now we will derive the Laplace transform of other functions that we have defined earlier. So the next one that we'll be deriving is e to the power of at and e to the power of minus at. Let's get to it. Okay, So that can be written as, so first we will do Laplace transform of e to the power of at is equal to 0 to infinity. So I hope you have understood why we are taking 0 to infinity, because time is from that instant to infinity. So basically its time starts at 0 to infinity. It is not going to be the backward side. So we're not going to go into the past. So it's from this instant forward. So e to the power of at dot e to the power of minus st dt. Now this can be written as e to the power of minus of s dt. The same thing, 0 to infinity e to the power of s minus a being some constant, sorry, dt is no longer there, divided by s minus a minus, right? So this is 0 plus 1 by s minus a. So that means the Laplace transform is s minus a. So similarly for e to the power of minus at, you can guess it. It is 0 to infinity e to the power of minus at dot e to the power of minus st dt. That is equal to 0 to infinity integral 0 to infinity e to the power of minus s plus a to t dt. So when you take the integral of this, that is the antiderivative of this divided by minus of s plus a. So this is 0. When you apply the upper limit, minus of minus 1 by s plus a, that is equal to 1 by s plus a. Okay, that is e to the power of 80 and e to the power of minus 80. Now similarly we can find the Laplace transform of e to the power of I omega t, and I think you can guess. So I'm leaving this as an exercise to you. You can try it as well. So 0 to the power of infinity e to the power of I omega t dot e to the power of minus st dt will be equal to 1 by s minus I omega. So a is basically replaced by I omega, right? So Laplace transform e to the power of minus I omega t is equal to 1 by s plus I omega. Okay, so these two are crucial because we will be using these two formulas to actually find the Laplace transform of sine omega t and cos omega t. Now we know the Euler's form, or more, I think it's pronounced as Euler's. Some people pronounce as Euler's, but I don't know, in my schools they have always preferred Euler for some reason. So let's go with Euler. So Euler's formula e to the power of I theta is equal to cos theta plus I sine theta e to the power of minus I theta is equal to cos theta minus I sine theta. So if you eliminate sine theta from these two, you will get cos theta is equal to e to the power of I theta plus e to the power of minus I theta divided by 2. Similarly, sine theta is equal to e to the power of I theta minus of e to the power of minus I theta divided by 2i, right? So we know these two formulas. Okay, so now we can write cos omega t as e to the power of I omega t plus e to the power of minus I omega t divided by 2. Okay, so Laplace transform of cos omega t will be equal to 0 to infinity e to the power of I omega t plus e to the power of minus I omega t divided by 2 dot e to the power of minus st dt. Correct. So these two guys can be taking half root as common. These two guys can be linearly split up into e to the power of I omega t dot e to the power of minus st dt plus 0 to infinity e to the power of minus I omega t dot e to the power of minus st dt. So we know the Laplace transform of these two functions already. So that can be written as 1 by s minus I omega plus 1 by s plus I omega. Okay, so that is equal to half of s plus I omega plus s minus I omega divided by s square plus omega square, that is equal to half of 2s divided by s square plus omega square. 2 gets cancelled, so that is equal to s by s square plus omega square. You can get the same thing by integration by parts. I have shared the link for this. You can check out the Laplace transform videos by Khan Academy, where he actually discusses the integration by parts of this, but I have used a Euler's form to actually get to this, which I find is pretty much easier to explain without using integration by parts. Okay, so now let's get to Laplace transform of sine omega t. Zero to infinity e to the power of I omega t minus of e to the power of I omega t divided by 2i dot e to the power of minus st dt. So that is equal to 0 to infinity 1 by 2i taken out as common outside. So e to the power of I omega t dot e to the power of minus ist dt minus 0 to infinity e to the power of minus I omega t dot e to the power of minus st dt. So we know the Laplace transform of this. Let's substitute it. So that is nothing but 1 by s minus I omega minus of 1 by s plus I omega. So that can be resolved as 1 by 2i. I hope you know why it's s square plus omega square. I didn't previously explain, but if you take this out as common, minus s minus plus I omega divided by, this is nothing but a minus b into a plus b, so that can be written as s square minus of I omega the whole square. Correct? So I square is nothing but minus 1, so that's why you get 1 by 2i into 2i omega divided by s square plus omega square. That is actually equal to omega by s square plus omega square. And remember, all these constraints actually converge only if real part of s is greater than 0. That is, s is equal to sigma plus j omega if it is in the complex plane. So this real part of s should be greater than 0. Okay. So these were the Laplace transform derivations of basic function, but I want to actually draw your attention to something else too. Okay, this is very important because it kind of like really shows you how Laplace transform is actually related to resolving your differential equation. So let's consider the first order equation dy by dt. I know everybody would have seen that ay plus an input source of e to the power of minus st. Correct? So this is the input source. So if it is equal to 0, you know the solution to this problem. But we don't want to do that. We are giving an input source of e to the power of minus st, where s is some parameter. Like we considered earlier in the first lecture, where we consider s as a parameter, where minus s is equal to like ln of x, natural logarithm of x. So in this case, we'll be doing this. Okay, so let's solve it. So let's assume the solution for this equation y will be capital Y e to the power of minus st, right? So let's assume this. So dy by dt will be capital Y dot e to the power of minus st dot minus s, correct? Now let's substitute these two back into the equation, into the first order equation that we have already written. So that is nothing but y minus s e to the power of minus st is equal to a capital Y dot e to the power of minus st plus e to the power of minus st. Take this guy this side. So we get y minus a minus s is equal to e to the power of minus st. Okay, so st just cancel it. So y is equal to minus 1 by s plus a. This is interesting actually. Now when we put back this capital Y into that equation that we already have, solution to the equation is this, minus 1 by s plus a to the power of minus st. And it's very crucial you notice this part, because it is what appears in your Laplace transform as 1 by s plus a, right? That is, when you have the Laplace transform of e to the power of minus at, the Laplace transform of this is 1 by s plus a. Correct? So if a is going in the positive direction, we know that this is going to basically decay. Correct? And now say t tends to infinity, So we want to find y as t tends to infinity and t tends to 0, correct? T is equal to 0. So y of infinity, if you notice, is actually 0, and y of 0 is equal to 1 minus 1 by s plus a. Now the difference between these two, that is y of small y of infinity minus y of 0, is nothing but 1 by s plus a. So the final state minus the initial state is actually giving a Laplace transform of e to the power of minus at, right, for an input source of e to the power of minus st. Okay, so this is very interesting. This is kind of like showing you what is the relationship between a Laplace transform and differential equation. And when I came across this, is kind of like, okay, so that means when I give an input exponential source to a first order linear equation, if the system is modeled as a first order linear equation, I know the solution is going to be this. And when I studied, and the important part is I can just model this differential equation as a linear equation of 1 by s plus a, and actually study its behavior between infinity and 0 when t is equal to 0 to infinity. So we know that it is going to be 1 by s plus a, and we know that when a, say, so that means this guy will only tend to 0 when s plus a becomes very large. I mean, if s plus a is actually going to go very much greater than 0. So when it is increasing and increasing and increasing, this basically will tend to 0. So that is the denominator, when it starts increasing, will tend to 0. So s can be any real line and a can be the constant. It's interesting how we can relate differential equations to the Laplace transform that we are actually studying. I'll discuss more on this because we can understand how differential equations are actually related to the Laplace transform. If you take this as cos omega t as a sinusoidal source and exponential source or a complex exponential source, how it actually varies. It's very interesting to study because this guy actually tells you the relationship between Laplace. I know I've been telling this quite a lot, but try to figure out, try to check out differential equation solutions to Laplace transform domain, and it is so easy that thank God we have Laplace transform. We are able to actually understand how a system behaves when certain things go to infinity, when a is a 0 or 1 or positive or negative, how is the system behaving. And this actually gives you a relation from the differential equation to a linear solution, that is 1 by s plus a. Don't you think this is easily solvable and easily understandable for a system than this, which is so vague? Like, I don't even understand what's happening here. But here, when I get to it, I know that when this guy is getting very much larger, like as it grows to infinity or some value, I know this guy is going to go to 0, right? So say when s tends to infinity, or a is a constant anyway, say, which is some value 1. So when s tends to infinity, that is when s is greater than 0, you can see the same constraint that I put in Laplace transform is holding here. So when s tends to infinity, 1 by infinity also tends to 0. So this is very important, and please remember this because not a lot of people actually cover this, and I accidentally came across this kind of a solution, this kind of an equation. I have related to Laplace transform. I'll be providing the link because this is something that was explained by Gilbert Strong in his differential equation and ODE lectures. Okay, so I'll give you the link for that, and this kind of relates to the differential equation Laplace transform domain and how easy Laplace transform has made our life to understand the differential equation domain as such, and also the system. So in the next class, we'll be actually studying about convergence and divergence. This is very important because we need to understand whether a function that we are considering is converging or diverging, and try to understand whether the Laplace transform actually exists. So that is the main condition, convergence and divergence. Okay, so this will be the this is what I'll be covering in my next lecture. So after we finish convergence and divergence, we'll be doing sums on Laplace transform. Okay, see you next time for the next lecture. Thank you.